Good evening, everyone. Learning is a treasure that will follow its owner everywhere and treasure found you. I, Tanya Goyal, on behalf of IEEE Student Branch JIIT, proudly announce Mr. Arnav Gupta and Mr. Aarnav Jindal as our guest speakers for Tech Talk 2. Mr. Arnav Gupta is the lead engineer at Target. He is also the co-founder and CTO at Coding Blocks. He was the lead engineer at Zomato, and his past experience is more than you can comprehend. Mr. Arnav Jindal is a software engineer at Cure.Fit. He is also the founder of TechJobs.in and has done marvelous work in the past. TechJobs.in is an initiative to help all college students keep up to date with important job listings from top-notch blue-chip tech companies. These people did not wait for the opportunity but created it themselves. I once again welcome both our Tech Talk speakers. So, here they are to share their views and to enlighten us with their experience and knowledge.
Hey, hi everybody, and really happy to be invited for this talk. Hi Arnav.
I will.
Hi. So to get started with the proceedings here, I think I would like to actually talk to you first of all about tech jobs because this is something I've been following very recently. So, what is it that you're doing at techjobs.in, and what is this initiative about? Let's talk about that. Then we'll also talk a little bit about both of our college times and what all we did.
Sure. So, guys, basically the idea behind tech jobs was being in college. So, I just graduated in 2020, and during college, you might have also gone through this. There are many times you miss out on very great opportunities, be it Google Step internship programs, some programs by Microsoft and Amazon, and even some job opportunities abroad. And I was one of those people who kind of missed out on some opportunities that would have been very great at the time. And if you look at it, the issue here is not very big, right? The issue was just that there is no platform who is posting out all these job opportunities, and I can just get instant notifications for. And all you need to do is basically go through some websites, basically the big wigs like Amazon, Google, and the likes, and go through their listings once. You put just one filter and you get all those listings. I had some issues with this, but I did not want other people who are in college to face such an issue, just because there's no curated platform for such kind of an opportunities. So that's where tech jobs came in, and we have been operating for close to 3 months now, and we try to push out notifications for every good jobs that are around, be it in India or the big focus right now is job opportunities abroad, be your US,
Okay.
Australia, and some odd countries in Europe. So yeah, that's all about it.
Okay. Interesting. So let's start with something is like your tech journey also till now. So when did you start programming, and then during your college, what are things that you worked on, and then like currently, for example, you're at Cure.Fit. So how did this opportunity come into being? How has the journey been till
So I, like many people, started coding only because I was supposed to. When in 12th standard, not a lot of people know what coding is and what you need to do when you get into a technical college, right? I had economics in 11th and 12th. I had no interest in computer whatsoever. But when I joined DTU in 2016, that's when everyone told me, okay, you want good salary, you want to get into a good company, here's what you do. You start coding. This is the most difficult branch to get into in any college, so you go on with computer science. And that's how I came in touch with the computer science. And right when I entered college, people told me, if you don't know C++, if you don't know Java, your college year will be screwed. And having that fear, I mean, being in a computer science branch and competing with people who already did computers in college, but so I did not want to feel left out, and that's why I joined coding blocks. C++ is my favorite language, right into college. So I did a 3 month course with the coding blocks on C++. And after that course ended, that's when I got acquainted with Arnav here. Not sure if Bhaiya remembers it, but I came up to him
I
and I
do, I
asked,
do.
like, I don't have much knowledge about coding. I just did a C++ course, and I need to start with Android. I was thinking of getting into Android, and should I go with it? And very casually, Arnav, leaning back in his chair, he was like, "Do you? I mean, can you write some amount of code? Do you understand code?" I said, "Huh, I think so." He said, "Then you can do it, no issues." So that's how my journey with the development started, and I mean, has been nothing back since then. Worked with a lot of dev stuff, and talking about the job, so Cure.Fit, I mean, I was privileged enough to be at DTU, one of the finest colleges in the country. So is Arnav, and we have many good companies who come on campus, which come on campus and offers like very good jobs in software development. So Cure.Fit was one of those companies, and I was able to clear their rounds in college. So that's how I got the opportunity.
Okay, okay, okay. So interesting. So I think one question I would like to put forward to you. You have gone through this phase more recently than me, like in college and then looking for jobs. So how much part, at least in your journey, I don't think anybody can answer it for everybody, but most people can at least answer for their own journeys. That how much part the competitive coding played in it, how much part learning development. You have made some apps in the Play Store and all. Also, I know so how much part that has played in it, and people who are just starting off in their coding journey in college, what would you recommend to focus on which part? Hi Arnav, can you hear me? The video stream seems to have stopped. Is everybody else able to see me and my video? Is it visible to people? Okay, I think Arnav's video has a bit of a issue. So maybe while he reconnects, I can take up some of the questions that I see on, you know, the comments on YouTube. So Ishan has asked that I'm in the fourth semester and I don't even have a base knowledge of programming. Is it too late to start now? So fourth semester means you're in second year about to end, right? I mean that's not definitely not late at all. I It's not very early. That obviously it's not early. A lot of people start from school time. A lot of people start in first year, so that's definitely not early. But it's not late either. I know a lot of people who have started even in their third year, in their fifth or sixth semester, they have started to seriously do programming, and turns out well for them, right? I think the challenge that you would have is that when you're starting now and about just about a year later, so when your third year ends, that's when your placements would be, right? So you have like 1 year and 3-4 months left to for your placements to start off with, right? So that might be a little short to do both competitive programming. Like you have to start with some basic programming, then data success algorithms, then you have to do, little bit into graphs and dynamic programming questions if you're looking to target the bigger companies. And then if you want to target product companies and these funded startups, and also for that you have to work on some projects as well. You have to either pick up something like web development or Android machine learning, whatever you like. I think web being probably the most popular one, that most job opportunities are there as well, and most people do as well, is web dev. So that if so doing that entire thing, like covering maybe a high level of competitive programming plus doing development as well, all of that might be a bit crunch. But yeah, if you really pull up your socks and try to do that, that's possible to do that. That's not late to start with. So yeah, I think hi Arnav, you're back. So I was just picking up a question. We will keep the questions coming. We will definitely pick them up as well as in when they come. Let's continue with that question that I had for Arnav was in your journey, like how much role did competitive programming play? How much role did data development play? what would you suggest your juniors who are kind of figuring that part out right now?
So I think looking back into what all I did and how much contribution. So basically, there are two things you do in college, right? Apart from your academics, you have either development or you have competitive programming. So if I think about it, I although I enjoyed development more, I did competitive programming only to get a good job. But I think I can safely say that the more important aspect of my college journey has been competitive programming because it opened a lot of doors for me. Putting something on your resume, which talks about, let's say, a candidate master position on codeforces or a 6-star on CodeChef. These are platforms that are unilaterally, I mean, everyone knows about these platforms, be it a recruiter in India or even some countries abroad. Like in Europe, codeforces is a big thing. And some people even know about CodeChef. So I was able to get at least through the screening round of many companies based on just my competitive programming profiles. And I have also seen that a lot of people who have done great in CP, even if they are not from BTech, if they are doing BTech or from some branch which is not computer science, or even if their GPA is not good, if they have competitive programming on their profile, they can get into even companies like Google. So my recommendation to everyone is and always has been to get into competitive programming. If you love coding, definitely give a try to development, but to get jobs, which is like the main focus of many people, I think competitive programming is the way to go.
Okay, okay. Quite interesting. So, we will. I probably have a little differing opinion, but I will get to that. So, nice. Um, tell me something. So, I would ask this question, though, on behalf of some students that ask is, and especially because at Coding Blocks you worked on creating that course on, those real life problems with solving using comparative coding things. And I personally really like that course because, for me, when I was in college and I was learning, and the thing that stopped me most from getting interested in competitive programming was that it did not feel like real world problems getting solved. It felt like, somebody had just, created artificial problems just for the sake of creating a problem, and then you are trying to solve it. Felt a bit like how during our JEE time, there used to be those math problems which had no, real world, relation to it, and they were just, complex just for the nature of being complex. And then solving them does not give a sense of fulfillment that, okay, I've actually solved some real problem that people would be facing, and I have solved that. So that's what my perception was towards comparative programming, and that's why I was not very interested in that during my college time. So what do you say to people who face similar things, and how they can improve their data structures and algorithms if they don't feel so interested in that?
So guys, I throughout my college have been a realist. I don't like to put things softly just to make people happy. So my only reason for doing coding, competitive programming, I love development. Okay, I've done so much, and when you see the product getting out, when you see something you've created and everyone can touch and interact with, it's beautiful. But my sole reason for getting into competitive programming was to see results, which can be then posted to recruiters who will give me the job. So, to be very honest, my inspiration has always been to get a good job, and it's the inspiration that worked the best for me. I saw the difference in the kind of job opportunities and in the packages that people got when they were applying in college, and that difference, the main difference, seemed to be because of the level of coding. Not only, I mean, not exactly competitive programming, but the knowledge of programming, which did not include development. So that has been my inspiration, and those people who find it a little difficult, I don't think, I mean, it's not the best inspiration, but it works for a lot of people. So yeah, that's my I think hard answer to this question.
No, that's a good answer. I think I not sure if you like when you were in class or not in coding blocks. I have asked this, but generally in first day in class, I ask people, why are you here? Like, why are you doing this course? Like, why do you want to learn things? And uh, at least initially, people just try to come up with fancy answers, like, I want to become like good in development, or somebody says, I want to really learn how computers work and this and that. and maybe two, three people answer, and rest of the people don't even answer. I'm like, isn't anybody here for jobs? And then people just start laughing. It's like, yeah, most of us are actually here for jobs. So that's definitely there. I mean, at least especially in India, jobs are a very, very big motivation. People are. I mean, you are in a engineering college, most people are there because your parents think that getting into engineering college will get you a better job. That's why you're there. A lot of people are, so you should be honest about that. And if that is the outcome, finally, the bigger goal is like you'll work for a great company and you'll work on a great project, and then so do whatever it takes to get there. Ask people how they have got there, and whatever has worked for them, try and do that. That can definitely be a very big motivation. Uh, Even for something like coding blocks, a place like coding blocks to exist is obviously that. I mean, most of the people, they do come here because they want to upskill so that they can land jobs. So that's definitely a very straightforward answer. I love that. Um, so okay, I'll pick up questions also. Like I think there is a question by Harsh Dwivedi. What are the must-know things if you are in the sixth semester? What's I think your answer to that? Some of the must-know things that you are in the sixth semester.
Must know things in sixth semester.
Like, like by the time third year completes, I think that's kind of like by the time I think even placements also start, right? So yeah,
By the time I think if you can figure out if you really like coding, that's a big plus because in technical colleges basically you have two streams that you can pick from, right? One is tech, one is non-tech, and a lot of people figure it out later that they wanted to be not in a tech domain. They would have preferred to be in something like marketing or maybe management or some position like that. And when you start in college, when companies come for hiring, it's a difficult decision, right, to get into non-tech fields because their salaries are less. Not many people know about them, and that's not why exactly you joined BTech. Why exactly you did BTech, right? But later down the line, if you're progressing in a tech domain, if you're doing software engineering, then it's a little difficult to switch later. So I think it's a good point to figure out if you really want to go into tech or non-tech. And the second thing would be, do you want to pursue further studies later? If you know that, it makes things a lot simpler. Uh, like if you should really focus on your academics or you should focus on your job opportunities because although many people can manage both, but I think that it's sometimes a little difficult to focus on programming as well as your GPA. So if you have that figured out, I think it can be great. Yeah.
makes sense. Great answer. Um, so okay, I think throwing the gauntlet over to you. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, so guys, if you have been able to follow Arnav, I mean, his profile is really amazing. I mean, actually, I think I will open the question. I will leave the question to you here. So, I saw your profile. Like you started in electrical engineering. You start somehow. I mean, you told me, but you somehow stumbled into coding, and then you had a phenomenal journey from that point. So, I mean, how did you come across coding? Why did you get interested? And like, what was your journey like?
Okay, so that's interesting. So I think coding is something, at least in like the computers, the whole domain, like computer science, programming, development, software. As far as this entire domain goes, I started off with a lot of things other than coding first. It was a very I think of it in more like outside in kind of journey rather than an inside out kind of journey, because I see a lot of people, the probably also the proper way to do it is you learn basics of programming first, then you learn programming language, then you learn how data success algorithms work, and then beyond that, if you're really interested in algorithms, you can go into greedy algorithms, knapsack, deep into dynamic programming. That's one world you can explore. Or if you are really into mathematical stuff, you can get into data science, data analysis, machine learning, statistics. That's another domain that you can get into. Or if you like the user interfaces, then making apps or websites is something that people can get into, right? Or if systems are something that you like, building APIs, working with databases, then backend engineering. So broadly, I think that there are these kind of four verticals, at least. To start with, you can think of these kind of things. Many of those verticals branch out into more things as well. So that's kind of the proper process. Like if I have to teach somebody, I would do it that way. And if I had to suggest somebody to do it, I would do that way. But for me, the journey was very different. I was interested in even before college. I was interested in hacking of electronics. So I had this GPS system that my father bought for his car, and that came with Windows embedded inside it. Windows embedded is a version of Windows that runs on embedded electronic devices. It's a smaller version of Windows. But it used to only open the Maps app. If you turn it on, only Maps open. You can shut it down. And I thought that if there is the entire Windows OS on it, why can't I open the rest of the Windows in it? And I went into some Russian forums, some Chinese forums, some European forums, finding out like the manufacturer of that same chipset. Somebody had posted how to do a race condition so that some other executable opens instead of the map executable, and I did that. And when I was doing that, I did not know what race condition even means, what do threads mean, how processes work. It was more about looking at some forum and figuring out, okay, running some scripts out there and just getting a basic idea of, okay, there are two executables, and whichever one, so you reboot the device 10-15 times, maybe one time instead of the map executable, the hack executable will actually run, and then the system will open up. So did stuff like that. Then when I was in my, that was in 10th grade. In my 11th, 12th, I used to work with, modding the operating system on Android phones. And when I started in college, I was already doing that. I was working with Sony, and they used to send me phones to, tinker with and just to work on. So I started, even before learning the basics of C programming and C++ in a proper way, I had compiled the Linux kernel. It was just read on the README and it's like downloaded it and like these are the steps to follow. So I was running Linux on my computer. Okay, so Linux kernel got compiled. If I went and looked at the source, it's like not a lot of it I really understood. Then I saw that okay, how to overclock it. There was some file in which the processors of the frequency of the processors was written. So it's written like 1.9 gigahertz, 2.0 gigahertz, 2.1 gigahertz, and after that, if you just add the 2.2 gigahertz line and you recompile that kernel to the proper frequency, then you get the output. So I did that, and then I started hey, am I audible? Sorry, I had a
Yeah, yeah.
power cut, so I had to switch my internet connection. Yeah, so like I was saying, I started with tinkering with the kernel and all those kind of things I did. Then I actually first time went to development world when I had to build the app for Troika, our tech fest in DTU, right? So before that, I think when I was in my second year, before that, nobody had ever built. I think I was in first year, so nobody had built an Android app. And Android was not so famous as well. Like smartphones were not there so much. Like today, everybody has a smartphone. It was not there. So some of my seniors said, "Yeah, you do stuff with Android." They just thought that I did stuff with Android. They did not know like whether I can make apps or whether what can I do with Android. They didn't know. Like Troika needs an app. Can you make one? And there was this Mist, which is some treasure hunt game. So we had to develop that. And I learned sitting down all night like how to make an app and all. And I learned as most of it was just copy pasting information from the net and trying to build it, not really understanding entirety of the syntax that I was writing. But we were able to make the app, put it up on the Play Store, and it also got like 5,000-6,000 downloads because everybody who had to participate in Troika had to register themselves through that app, and there was those downloads and all. So I did that. And after doing that, I realized it's like how a joker says, if you're good at something, never do it for free. So I realized that there are other colleges in Delhi, and everybody might want to make an app for their fest, and I am somebody who knows how to do that. And not a lot of people at that time knew Android development at college level. These days, everybody knows it has caught on. It has become a very big thing. So I made an app for IIT. I made an app for this thing, Triple IT Delhi. And then for I think this thing. So my friend was at NSIT. I helped him build their app as well. And I charged like somewhere I charged 5,000, somewhere I charged 2,000, like that. It was just fun doing that. And then I started caught up into a lot of open source projects, and obviously learned how to build apps also properly because you just build 10, 15 apps, you learn how to build it properly anyway. And it's very unstructured for me. It's very outside in kind of learning, understanding how the systems work, then trying to build something by putting pieces together, and then I learned how to do it in a proper way. over the journey, obviously, I would say competitive programming, I have not been very interested in, got into that, like codeforces, CodeChef. I don't have accounts on like, websites like that. But data success algorithms concepts have obviously improved over time because you work on these things. You have to use things like where you want to use a hash map, where you want to use a try. You have to create a directory somewhere, searching, probably making a try for that. Caching some data, making a hash map for that. So data success algorithms knowledge has obviously need based has increased automatically. And I mean, I take interviews for people and basic data success algorithms questions. I ask people myself as well. So I think that part has gotten covered. But moreover, something like uh, getting into a long challenge and submitting faster than anybody else. That level of competitive programming is something that I have myself never done. But yeah, it's been more interested in these kind of things. Then, I mean, after college, it had been like, coding blocks itself was a very great learning opportunity because I wrote the first line of code for our login system, the website. Even till today, the main website, it probably needs a revamp. It's so old now, but that code is all written by me. The codingblocks.com website. People don't visit that a lot anymore. People just go to online.codingblocks.com now. So did that and then built a tech team and then understanding how it can scale. Like initially there were, if even if we had a scholarship test, 500 people would appear for that test. Then 5,000 people would appear for that test. Then 10,000 people would appear for that. 10,000 people appearing for the test and everybody clicking submit and their code running. You have to understand how to scale the backend also accordingly for that. So all that learning has been like, just because I had to do it, I had to learn how to do it. It never was very like, go and read up some documentation. You have to understand it like this. You have to understand it like that. So that happened. Then Zomato and Target obviously are like much bigger experiences than that. It's like millions of users, how an app works at that scale. Those things I've been learning since then.
So I think this is one question I had for you. Like, I personally believe that competitive programming is very not exactly competitive programming, but a more heavy focus on DSA is important when it comes
Right,
to getting jobs.
right.
Um, like, what has your experience been? And you said that you kind of disagree with that a little bit. So, like, why is that so?
I mean, yeah, I think if you put it that way, that in data success algorithms, fundamental understanding of that obviously is very important. I completely agree with that part. Uh, about the ranks on competitive programming websites, I am not obviously contesting the fact that they help. I'm sure they might help. I don't have such ranks anywhere, so I can't comment on whether or not they help. And if somebody has had like a candidate master or a 6-star kind of rank in some place and they have gotten offers because of that, obviously it must have helped them. So my personal experience being is that even if you don't have, like if you have, that's great. I'm just talking about people who don't want to do that, who don't want to, who don't get the joy out of competitive programming. They don't want to sit for challenges and get, move their graphs up and their ranks up in that kind of website. I think that is not a barrier. If you are, you know equally passionate at least about development and building projects and getting into open source development. Now if you don't do either of them, then you're not anywhere, you're not going anywhere in life, right? So you have to put in the effort and an equal amount of effort. Like the total effort, whatever track you choose is going to be the same. The effort is not going to be less anywhere. Okay, the effort just feels less if you do something that you like. It feels more if you're doing something that you don't like. That's the only difference. But if you look back at it, the effort is same. So like I think, for example, at least at development, open source, these kind of things, I had gone out with friends in college, gotten back, from a party drunk with everybody else, and everybody else is like puking and getting to their beds, and I'm thinking, yaar, aaj ek line code nahi likha hai. Right? So that kind of passion, that can obviously take people places. So so when that is there, then you can obviously, if you build projects, if you work on open source projects that are used by millions of people, say you have contribution on something like the Linux kernel or the Firefox project or VLC, these kind of projects. So people in the industry also know that, the kind of effort that you need to put in to be able to push your code into a project of that size. Like you have been a contributor to Linux or VLC or Chrome, Chromium or Firefox. These kind of projects, it's not child's play to be able to, get a piece of your code into a project that big. You really have to be at that level to understand how that project works. You have to work with developers who are working for maybe 15, 20 years in that field. talk to them, write, make a bug fix or a feature, and you submit that. And it goes through a significant amount of scrutiny when you contribute to open source to a project like that, right? So when you do that, then people in the industry also understand that fact that how well you understand software development in that sense. And obviously, at an interview level, there would be questions about I did my I got through Facebook in my final year in college. I got through Microsoft recently. I did not join because I'm pretty happy where I am right now. But I did that, and array and string manipulation. Quite a lot of questions were there. Questions on hashing functions, hashes, these kind of things were there. There was a question on graphs as well in the Microsoft interview. I don't think I did that question particularly very well, but I did all the recursion and array and string manipulation questions pretty well. So those questions are there, and those I feel if you have worked with software for a significant amount of time, you anyway have to learn those things. I mean, nobody has been working on software for 3-4 years and they don't know basic data structures properly, I believe. So that would be my viewpoint. I mean, if you're not very very highly interested in CP in the sense that don't want to get ranks in contest, participate in contest, get ranks, it's not something that you feel like liking. But development field is something that you like, so you can put in that equal amount of energy here and get to a similar level here, and that will also help you open similar number of doors in this space as well.
So I think one thing that came up in the discussion was open source, right? A lot of people
Right,
don't either know about open source, how to get started, and then subsequent steps like getting into GSOC and getting an offer from there. So having
right.
been a mentor, and I think you have been acquainted with this GSOC for quite some time. So like how to start and what all to do when you join the platform.
Okay, so good question, and because you brought in GSOC in that sense, so I would like to obviously take this opportunity to mention as well, like don't conflate just GSOC with open source. Open source is a much bigger world than just participating in GSOC. And sadly, what has happened is like in India, I mean, I made a video on how to get into GSOC probably I think 3-4 years back in the early days of coding blocks, and that video became very popular. Since that became very popular, a lot of people have made video on how to get into GSOC by people who have not got into GSOC ever, who don't even have a GitHub account. Such people are also making videos how to get into GSOC. It kind of spoils the fun of a program like GSOC. But coming back to the actual part of open source, it's the real true achievement I think in open source, and the real true feeling of accomplishment in open source for me is if I am able to contribute to a project that a lot of users or a lot of developers use. So, for example, I have a few libraries which I made them for Vue.js, and they have like every week they get some 1 lakh, 2 lakh downloads. So 1 lakh, 2 lakh developers every week they to build their own projects. They are using my library to build that. So to see that impact, I mean that is definitely bigger than the kind of joy I got out of participating in GSOC when I see my library getting used by 1 lakh people. Similarly, a lot of people who participate in GSOC in very big organizations, their code gets used by millions of people because that open source project powers millions of websites or millions of apps, or it is powering some Linux distribution. So in that sense, I think that feeling of accomplishment is obviously very, very big. So I think my the first triggering point for me, which is like, I got really deep into open source after that, was I wrote this feature in Android. It was back when Android KitKat was just out. And between Android KitKat and Lollipop, this feature I had contributed. So like if you go to your dialer and if you type somebody's number, and then after that in Android KitKat, there was only an option to dial that person. There was no option at that point to message that person. You can copy that number, go to your messaging app, and then you can send a new message to a person, and then you could send a message to that person. And I faced this problem a couple of times. Sometimes I used to, somebody would tell me that this is my number, and I used to quickly type their number, and I have to type it in the dialer because it's the easiest app to open and dial a number, right? And then I don't want to call that person. I just want to send a message to that person. So I wrote this feature where instead of calling, you also have an option on that right side three dot menu. You can open that menu and send a message to that person. So this exists in all Android phones today. Everybody who uses Android Lollipop or above, I can just tell anybody who uses Android today that just open your dialer, see that feature. I made that feature. I myself did. So that kind of impact, to be able to contribute something there, and a year down the lane when everybody is on Android Lollipop or above, you can say that are you using Android Lollipop, then you're using code that I have written. So that obviously kind of made me, and this is something I did before I participated in GSOC for the first time, in fact. So that drew me more towards the open source ecosystem, is that there are places where you can contribute code, and that's going to be used by so many people, right? And it took me, I think, more than almost 2 months. It took me for that code to get submitted. Like I submitted that code, the review went on for 1.5 months. Like somebody, there was some issue with the indentation, there was some issue with the variable name, the test was not written. Like I really wrote it like a naive college student, how they would write the code, that it works. Like, why do you care about anything else? It works. And then the people who are reviewing that code, they were like senior people in Google who have been working at Google for 10 years or so. And, they reviewed, like, it was a brutal review. Like, we like the feature, but what code have you written? Like, there is no test. It does not follow the indentation of the rest of the code. The variable name is not right. You have not written an interface. You have directly written a concrete class, like that. So I also learned so much just to get that piece of code submitted, that how to write code for that system. And even getting that Android OS to compile used to be like, every time I used to make one line of change and it used to take 30 minutes to compile. But that was a great experience, and that obviously got me deeper and deeper into the open source world since then.
So where this, I have one question like which intrigued me even when I was taking your classes, because this is something you told me back in my second year. That's back in 2018. So you told us that you had an offer from. Now that you've told, you also had an offer from Facebook, but you had an offer from Google also at the time. Many people would, I mean, die for such an opportunity or like jump right at it wherever they might be. So where does that inspiration come from, or like where does that mindset come from, wherein like you want to contribute more to the community or to the kind of projects that you want, instead of going by the conventional like mindset of the people in the industry?
So, in the bigger picture, looking back now, I can tell, I did not go after a job or something like that. But at least at the moment, those decisions are not taken like that. So, for example, I'll tell you the story. So, the Google offer was not really a final job offer. It was like after doing my GSOC, my mentor got me in touch with somebody at Google, and they said, like, you would not have to go through the entire Google interview process. You would have like the, one design round and a culture fit round, and then you can go in for that. So that was there. I gave up like Google interviews as well, like normal people do, like that also after college, and then I cleared most of the rounds. Just the last round was left. But Facebook, for example, Facebook, Microsoft, these I had like proper like joining letter kind of final offers. So for Facebook, I would tell you it was first of all to join Facebook in Singapore, and at that time I had just ended college, and all the money that I had earned in college, like doing GSOC 2 years and a lot of freelancing and everything, and I put together in like 10 lakh rupees, and I bought a EcoSport. And so after that, like there was this Facebook offer. So I had gone to Singapore for the final round of that interview, and I'd also gone there for FOSS Asia. FOSS Asia is a conference, open source big conference, and I participated in GSOC under FOSS Asia, so I had gone there. And in the same trip, there was the Facebook interview as well. So I went there, and my cousin, who was living there for 7, 8 years, he had come to pick me up, and he had come in a bus to pick me up. Okay. So all of this, consider I'm talking about, 5 years back. So obviously I was much more immature, and the way I look at the world is very different. So like he came in a bus to pick me up. I'm like, भाई तू बस में क्यों आया pick up करने के लिए, like, गाड़ी वाड़ी लेके आप तू 7, 7 साल से यहाँ पे है. And he's like, here the cost of a car is $20,000, but the cost of a license is $90,000. They discourage people from driving because public transport people use. Okay. Uh, Climate change, why public transport is supposed to be used, all of that was not on the top of my mind. What was on top of my mind was, यार मैं 4 साल कॉलेज में पैसों से मैं गाड़ी खरीद सकता हूँ भाई, ये यहाँ पे बस में घूम रहा है, right? ये कैसी लाइफ है, right? And then so with my friends we were going around, and we were just looking at, there was some this thing job fair for people to become bus pilots. So bus pilot is like somebody who drives the bus, so they are bus pilots, right? And there was this thing written, like, the pay package for a bus driver was written inside that. There was a big standee where it was written like walk-in interviews for bus pilots, and there was like the pay package was written. So I saw the pay package, and the pay package of that bus pilot was, I mean, a little more than half of what the pay package was for me at my Facebook job. Okay. Now, that's a great thing, by the way. Just anybody who's hearing this right now, that's a great thing. If any country has that less, pay inequality, that's an awesome thing. But I was a very young person at that time, just out of college. To me, it looked like, I am not even going to be paid more than 2x what a bus driver is getting paid. Okay. That's a very bad way to look at the world, by the way. Just a disclaimer there. But then when I came back from a trip at Singapore, and I was like, nahi yaar, matlab, all that, like, Facebook job like India chhod ke, then I just bought this car. What will happen of this? And I want to do something of my own. So all those thoughts together, I thought that okay, I will not go there. And also, I knew at that point that Facebook offers are valid for 6 months. So till 6 months later, also I could join. So I started working on coding blogs. By the time 6 months had gone, then there was no more thought of that Facebook offer is pending or something like that, because coding blocks was growing, a lot of students were coming, and it was really satisfying to be able to teach people to build apps, websites, and see them getting jobs after that. So I got interested in that and was building that, and then it was never so much of looking back towards jobs and all in that sense.
Okay. Okay. So, our last question that I have from you is like you have taken interviews for a lot of big companies, like even
Right.
Zomato. I think for Google also, like some companies that you didn't really work at, but you were able to take interviews. Not sure Google, but some other
No,
companies
not
also.
for Google, but yeah, for some a lot of startups and all my friends have. For them, I have taken interviews for Zomato and Target. Obviously, I have taken a bunch of interviews. Yeah.
Yeah. So my question being like, what exactly are you looking for in a person who is interviewing with you? And the second question after that, like just a small question would be, even in the interviews, you see that a lot of questions that even you ask or many of your peers might ask. So you have a lot of experience in dev, but a lot of your peers might focus more on DSA. So
Right.
looking at that, so would you really recommend development for someone who is right out of college and trying to get a job, or would you recommend programming and like competitive programming instead?
Okay, so that simply gets broken down into the two types of ways people are hired. So people are hired for generic SD roles in a lot of places, and sometimes people are hired for a very application specific role. So, for example, at Zomato, when we were going to campuses and hiring people, we were not hiring for role specific candidates, because we had a target of like we hire 60, 70 people from campuses. And then we know next year out of that, maybe 20 will turn up, actually join us. Rest of them will reject the offers and they will not join. That's what every company campus placement process looks like, right? So these 60 people, like, and 20 will join later. So where do I need 20 people 1 year later in my company? At a company like Zomato, we could not answer that question. We don't know where would I need 20 people next year. But if 20 good programmers join my company 1 year later, I know I would have vacancies somewhere or other. I will fit them, right? So that was the thinking behind doing campus placements. We don't know where they will be fitting into. So in that case, we do not primarily interview based on development skills. If somebody has dev projects, we definitely ask them how they build that project, what were their challenges, maybe even ask them to show a little bit code of that project. But we do make sure that their problem solving skills are up to the mark. And some people go into very deep geek for geeks kind of questions, and then a lot of my peers often just look up a question on geeks for geeks which they themselves might not know how to answer, and they ask them. Not something I subscribe to myself a lot. But I also ask basic questions like a two pointer method based questions, splitting an array, or uh, a mud sort based questions. These kind of things even I ask, because it's important to understand whether people know how to build logic, right? And I made a video very recently on the Coding Box YouTube channel, is about I asked them about a tail call recursion question. Kind of my pet question is like, I tell them what tail call optimization is. And a lot of people don't know the term tail call optimization, but they obviously know how to turn recursive problems into iterative solutions, right? So that's something that you learn when you're doing, if you run into Stack Overflow kind of issues, then you have to do an iterative solution to be able to solve that particular problem. So I just tell them that, a tail recursion. I explain to them, I explain how factorial can be turned into a, tail recursion. Then I give them some other problem and I said, okay, can you turn this into a tail recursion? So it shows me that if I take a recursive problem, turn it iterative right in front of them, and I give them another recursive problem, can they immediately use that learning 5 minutes back and apply that to another problem? So that is something that I do test. Something like, uh, asking somebody to code, insertion in a graph or insertion in a try on a, Google Doc without the internet. That is something I personally don't do because I feel at work when they're doing, they would have access to resources. They would have an actual ID with syntax highlighting, with it will red underline when you do syntax errors. It will not compile if you make mistakes. So I don't see a point in making them write that on a Google Doc without the internet connection. But that also is done in a lot of companies. So if you're preparing for such companies, you will have to be ready in that syntax as well. But otherwise, yeah, logic building is definitely something I ask. Development focused questions come when we are hiring for very role specific, hiring, and that also happens all across the year. Off campus, we are hiring role specific. It's at Target. We are doing the Target is a huge company. Target has 2 lakh employees. It's like a, Google, Amazon kind of companies that size. It's also, $200 billion size of company. So it's a huge tech team. And here we go for campus placements and we do in a similar way, like I just told. But then we are doing role specific hiring as well. Like right now, I'm hiring for a senior Android engineer role right now. And to them, I don't obviously ask a lot of DSLO questions. I ask them about Android architecture patterns, Dagger, MVVM, multi-threading, concurrency problems, race conditions, their existing projects that they have worked on. I give them a take-home assignment that, you have to make this kind of an app. They submit that app, and I go through their code base. Why did you write it like that? Why did you write it like that? So that's how that interview process happens. If it is role specific, then the questions about that technology are more. So if it's like a Node.js interview, there's going to be a lot of deep questions about JavaScript. If it's a Django interview, there's going to be a lot of deep questions about Python. And that's how that process would be.
Okay. But yeah, I think just one more question, last question for you. Like a lot of people kind of get discouraged in college during campus hiring because
Right.
like you probably give 100 interviews, you get one job offer, and I mean it's very difficult, right? When you're right into college and you sit for so many companies, many people getting
Right.
offers, you just left back. The disappointment and sometimes some subsequent issues can be a little too harsh to deal with in college. So how would you
Correct.
suggest someone should cope with it?
So I think it's about, I don't know how to place this, but a little taste of success, not necessarily in terms of job or something like that, but you go to a hackathon and win that, or you participate in a, say, CodeShift long challenge and you win that. A little taste of success before you expose yourself to the brutal placement process is kind of very important. Try to get into more competitive environments, not competitive programming per se. Competitive programming is one of them. There are other competitive environments where you build up a team and you work on a project. Maybe there's an ideathon or a hackathon or, startup weekend or anything like that. A lot of online programming and coding related contests happen, right? Go get an internship, right? Getting an internship is very important, I would say. So any of these things you do, it builds a level of confidence which says that, ठीक है ये नहीं job हुआ तो कुछ और हो जाएगा. I don't think that I'm not incapable of anything. It gives you validation, right? So validation is very important because what I see, at least when I teach students as well, is a lot of people, more than learning, what they want is the teacher to tell them that हाँ तुमको आ गया चीज, right? So similarly, that career में मेरा कुछ होगा नहीं life में, getting over that feeling is very important, and getting over that feeling will only happen if you win something, smallest of the things, but you win a competition, you win a contest, or you win an internship offer and you work there for 2 months. You know that okay, एक बार कर चुका हूँ, internship लग गई है, job भी लग जाएगा मेरा. So that is very important to raise your inner levels of confidence to a point where rejections don't affect you. That अच्छा ठीक है, लोग बैठते हैं 5 कंपनी में बैठते हैं, 6 में बैठते हैं, लग जाती है, ठीक है. That I would say is kind of important. When I was in my end of second year, beginning of third year internships, so I sat for the first one, which was for Qualcomm. Qualcomm was open for both hardware and software in our college. I was from Tripoli, so I was told that Tripoli people can only apply for hardware. I still applied for software. I cleared the the online round and the written round. At interview, they said that you have cleared for software, you have not cleared for hardware. From Tripoli, we can't let you sit. So I was like, okay, fine, just fuck off. Like, what the hell? I mean, I cleared the software round, and everybody else who is from IT, software, computer science branch, they have also cleared the same one. Why can't I sit with them and I can get the software offer, right? So, but then that gave me the feeling that okay, fine, if I could clear this, I could clear something else as well. It's just some stupid rules because of which I'm not able to sit for it. And then I did not sit for other internships on campus. I thought that I will crack some internship off campus, and I was able to do that. Uh, uh, in terms of for placements as well, it was very similar. I had a few options to do a full-time internship along with job in my fourth year. So I knew that even if I don't sit for placement, something or the other will definitely happen. I will be able to work out something. That's why I was not so concerned with placements. Although I did actually get placed in the first day of my college. So Amazon came on like day zero, what they call, and I did not go to college that day. So I went to college the day college opened in my fourth year. Zomato was there, and I got placed. So at least that gave me the freedom to not think about placements and all, and buy formals and go to college in blue shirts and black trousers every day. I was like, okay, I'll just do things that I like. But yeah, I think it's important that you don't have this feeling that every rejection means that you are not worth anything. You go for an internship, win some competitions, then you would not feel that way, and that's kind of very important to do before you get into the placement scenario.
I think there is one scenario here which I think I would like to discuss with you. Maybe I can give you my take on it, and you can comment if that's the right thing to do. Maybe, but
Sure, sure.
many people who try to get an opportunity in college and cannot. Maybe they are not from like tier one colleges per se, but let's say they go for an MS, right? They try to go for a master's in some country abroad, be it America, Europe, or Australia. It seems like people there who were in IP colleges here in Delhi, or from some colleges which was not very well known, they are able to crack into Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and that too into the headquarters, right? And
Right.
that seems to be kind of like a dilemma here. Like, should you spend that 1 crore into that education there and get that good job? And
Right.
like, if you're not able to get something here, is that a good opportunity? Should someone do that?
So two things. One is people like the interview process and getting into big companies is less competitive there after MS than it is here, which is true. I have a lot of friends who have gotten into these FANG companies after MS, in USA, right? And similar people they try to do that, and when after their BTech or something here in India it's less competitive. It's you don't have 7-8 rounds like it happens in India because simply it's a factor of demand supply, right? Because there is so high demand and so less supply, at least in India right now, is that there is many of those top companies don't have a lot of tech openings in India. They do have like other openings in India. For example, like Facebook, Apple, Netflix, three of the companies in fact, they have only 50, 60 tech people in India right now. These kind of companies, there are very few tech openings in India. Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they do have like big tech offices. Amazon and Microsoft have pretty huge tech offices in India, but not all companies have them, right? But back in the US, then the number of students applying to these companies versus the number of jobs that are there, that ratio is better. So, oh, that's my dog. So, just a moment.
Yeah, so I think I agree with what Bhaiya is basically trying to say, that a lot of what factors into this situation is demand and supply. And yeah, okay, no, Bhaiya is back. He can
Yeah,
probably
and
elaborate.
adding to that, I think do you want to settle abroad or not is a very big question because MS should be hinged on simply that question. It's the easiest route to go abroad, I think, today, especially to US. EU might be a little easier without MS as well, but US definitely. So if you really want to go and settle to US, do your MS. That's the best pause. That's the easiest and the best path will give you the best outcomes. If you don't want to, like, if you want to do your MS outside and come back to India, don't do it. That's going to be a waste of money and time because people who do MS outside and then they come back, they get to the same place in life where they would have been if they have been working in a company for 2 years. You work in a company for 2 years, you're probably earning 30, 40 lakhs. And if you go to MS, you're probably losing 30, 40 lakhs. So, you are probably 1 crore words off, and you're still at the same point. But if you want to go and settle in the US, then an MS is a better option, I believe.
Maybe we can
I
take
think we can
some.
take some questions from the, yeah, there's some comments that have come on. So I think you can take some questions, Arnav. Is what are the best? Okay, if I'm not very much interested in CPR programming, but interested in UI UX design, um, so that's perfectly fine. There are a lot of UI UX design positions as well, at least in India at an entry level. I think maybe compared to SDE jobs like front-end software development jobs, close to 90% of the salary range you would get at a UI UX design position. In fact, as you go higher, I know a lot of designers who are paid better than software developers because it becomes very difficult to hire good designers. So if you're interested in that, definitely go do that. It's not necessary that you have to do something that you don't like when you already know what you really like. So definitely do that. There's another question I was looking at. So Nakshatra had asked, what are the best resources to find topic-wise list for competitive programming questions? So Arnav, can you take that one up?
Best resource for topic wise list. Nakshatra, for competitive programming, there is no such. I mean, I have been doing it for close to 2 years, but there's no such very good compilation where you'll get topic wise questions. Maybe a course, something at Coding Blocks. I did their course once. It was very good to start off. When you start doing competitive programming for long, then you need some other resources. But if you're too scared to start, I think then that course is something you can try. So other than that, what I'll recommend is learning. So this thing is very true for competitive programming, which is learning on the job. Competitive programming is something you learn while you are doing it, because not every whatever you kind of do, you cannot cover all the aspects, all the type of questions that are covered in a competitive programming format, right? If you go to Codeforces, they never repeat a question, and they kind of have like 2 to 3 contests every week. So you cannot cover everything in a course, right? So when you're giving those questions, and later when you go through the editorial, when you upsolve those questions, that is where you actually learn the concepts. And once you go, so my personal experience has been going through like 10-20 contests. After that, you have a very good hold of the kind of questions that are asked, and what are your deficiencies. Everyone's list is not the same. There are some deficiencies that you need to work on that improve your personal profile and your personal ratings. So try to start with competitive programming, probably Codeforces, very good platform, and try to figure out where you need to improve.
Right. I think I can add one thing to this is I won't be able to tell you what all is needed in competitive programming because, again, like I said, that's a world not completely explored by me. But something that would definitely suffice for most job interviews and you will equip you good enough if, like, for example, you're good in development already, but you want to just learn enough DS algo so that you don't fail in the interview rounds of DS algo. Cracking the coding interview, there's a book by Gail McDowell, Cracking the Coding Interview. If you just cover the Cracking the Coding Interview book, it is high on concept, low on number of problems. It's not like Geeks or Geeks with 5,000 questions, right? It will, if you're short on time, I prefer, suggesting that book. It covers most of the concepts, and with every concept, at least one twisted question is given so that that concept is cleared for you. If you cover that book, and if you, like I was saying, if you're interested in dev and all, and you're not interested in getting a candidate master or a 6-star kind of rank right now, definitely cover CTCI book. That should be pretty good enough to clear most of your rounds at most of the companies that I know of. Obviously, even cracking the coding interview might not be sufficient for companies like DirectEye or Code Nation because there are some companies who are very heavy on competitive programming. Might not be sufficient for that, but for most companies, it should be sufficient, is what I feel. So there was another question. Aditya has asked, we don't get internships without experience, and we don't get experience without internships. Then what do the companies expect from us? So Arnav, your take on that? I think I can get to that also later. But what do you think of it? Aditya has this question.
I think this this was a famous meme back 2 years ago. Also, I mean, like how do you get around this problem, right? So my take on it is there is one end of the string which you can actually pick yourself and start with, which is getting experience. Like you don't really need an internship to get experience, right? If you try to build something yourself. Try to develop some applications, some websites for, let's say, your own hackathons or your tech fest, or you put out some applications on the Play Store. So that this is something that actually Bhaiya told us, that if you do that, that can actually count as some sort of an experience, right? Because you made something that is being used by people and you get genuine feedback. You need to improve upon it. You need to do a lot of the things that a software developer does themselves in a company. So you are able to go through a lot of it yourself. So I think you can create opportunities for yourself even if you don't have experience. So that might be a good way to start on it.
Right. Actually, I was going to say the same thing itself, is that you don't need to get experience at a company. You can, maybe for a friend or relative, you can make a website for them, producer opportunities like that for your college tech fest or something like that, or personal projects, make them. And then you show them, and that gets you your first break. And then obviously you're part of the cycle, then it's not a problem anymore. Is what another good question from Shweta is, suppose a guy who does CP, hasn't done any development and project. So what would you recommend to him, in which domain he should focus and have some good projects for their resume?
But yeah, maybe you can pick this one up.
Sure, I can. Um, I don't know. I mean, the safest bet, widest net that you can cover, web development, I would say. Right? Learn JavaScript, do some front end work, because if if you are interested in something else, do it. I'm not saying that, but if you are confused what you should do and you've only done programming and not done in development anything, learn front end. Probably after doing a few projects using basic JavaScript, HTML, CSS, also learn React along with that, or Vue.js along with that, maybe one framework. The framework part is not so important, but basic JS fundamentals and front end work you do, and make 2, 3 projects. If you just Google for, GitHub project ideas, you see a lot of people have GitHub repositories where they have listed a bunch of project ideas. Take a few of them, maybe stock market analysis dashboard or something like that, a to-do list, shopping list maker, something like that, and make 2, 3 projects. That should be sufficient to show off as projects. And if people ask you questions about that, the JavaScript knowledge might get you helpful, because like the biggest domain, at least in software development today, is still web development. Like maximum developers are web developers. Like data scientists, mobile developers, backend, everything, they all come after that. Like maximum in the domain is web developer. So this is one safe web development domain that you can cover. I think you can cover front end web development. That's also something I will do in the fastest amount of time as well. Any other questions, Arnav, you think we can pick up, or I think we have also ended our time limit as well.
Uh, yeah, I think we were able to answer a lot of things. Okay, I'm currently in second year. Please tell the roadmap to grab internship you're doing to what. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I can give my take on this. So, when it comes to grabbing internships, so my strong belief is that competitive programming. I'll re-emphasize it, despite what Bhaiya suggested. My still strong take on this will be go for competitive programming, because I've not seen many people. I might be wrong. I have a limited view, but I've not seen many people with great profiles in dev getting job opportunities as much as I've seen people with the competitive programming. I've seen people from BCA background, BCA field, which is a 3-year course, and even in that, that's not from a very well-known university in India, and still get job offers from Google. And some people who were from tier 3 colleges in India, they did competitive programming well. They were very well known on codeforces, CodeChef, and they cracked job opportunities abroad in Amazon and some other countries and great companies like that. So try to focus. So firstly, build your base in programming. Try to go through all the DSA best. You should have a very strong base. After that, you can pick your domains. One is obviously competitive, the other is dev. But my personal recommendation for anyone would be to go for competitive programming from there. And yeah, one side note, always focus on your GPA. Not many people focus upon GPA. That is something that is left lost in your journey in coding. And when you're trying to sit for a company, it tends to be one of the factors based on which your resume is screened and filtered out. So if you can have a GPA, try to maintain a decent GPA, and that won't be a big problem for you.
Good. Nice answer. Yeah. I think, yeah, we
Yeah,
have run out of
so
time already. Yeah. Hi, Tanya.
yeah. So thank you, sirs, for an amazing session. I'm sure our viewers also learned from a lot of your experience. And thank you for answering our questions as well. It was nice hearing you out about your experiences.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for having us. It was great sharing the time here as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.